Betray the cult, not we the people. Betray the cult, not we the people. Now, this is a message that I have been sensing for a long time as we are coming for the ingress of Jupiter into Gemini, and later the ingress of the Sun, going through the gate of Sedna, the trines Pluto. So right now the ascendant is with Virgo. This is a Jupiter hour on a moon day, and the midheaven is approaching Procyon. It's a good chance to invite Procyon to sweeten, to play the benevolent role of sweetening conflict, of granting favors. And the moon is in 1 degree Leo at the lunar mansion, at the 10th lunar mansion of recovery from illness, of benevolence, okay, benevolent partnerships. When you encounter, think about when you encounter genuine benevolence. We're gonna make this minute be a little mini talisman for the 10th lunar mansion, so you can come back again and listen. And the 10th lunar mansion portrays the head of a lion, and it is about recovery from ailment and having genuine benevolence. Okay, it's good for partnership. And when you think about encountering genuine benevolence, genuine kindness, of course you are healing, you are healthy. Of course this is contributing to partnership, but this is also contributing to the wealth that nourishes partnerships. This is why it's very good for medicine. Medicine made with genuine benevolence is healing. And I've been receiving the word benevolence, to which I added genuine benevolence, a lot in my talismanic work. And this is very important. Now, the incense that you would use is actually amber for this one. And amber is a wonderful healing balm. It is warming. It also warms to the touch of our hands. And it is the natural raising of trees hardened. So amber is actually kind of like the crystal that is hardened for years and years and years of the raisins of trees. And it still has this quality where if you hold it in your hand, it is warming. And the raisin itself, of course, what it serves in a tree is to heal deep wounds. And so does amber. Genuine benevolence heals deep wounds. Genuine benevolence, when you encounter genuine benevolence, whether it's wounds of the heart, okay, relationships, heartbreak, betrayal, okay, or it's wounds of the body, and those are very associated with one another. We know that the heartbreak is literally a lethal medical condition, possibly lethal medical condition. When we take this and we consecrate this energy to arise with the genuine benevolence. This is the antidote to some of the energies that are at the gate of showing themselves, have been showing themselves, and those are energies that have not encountered genuine benevolence and thus cannot provide genuine benevolence. And so I will start by something that actually they don't know what's energy, is my ex-therapist said to me. And for those who do not know the context, is a person that had a boundary, patient therapist boundary violation, was clinical, psychoanalysis, everything, all the papers and stuff like that. It was not about him not being trained, but actually him very likely being part of a cult. And he was at the juncture of deciding which children are taken from the parents and treating children who are supposedly at emergency, like those welfare cultish human trafficking trade kind of junctures. And I did not know, it just came as a patient to heal. And one of the things that he told me when he finally managed to bring me, the child, into the room was that my vulnerability makes him, brings in the cruel parts in him. Okay? And unfortunately, he also acted this out. And that's when I had to flee from my life, and I'm still protecting my energy, and I'm still dealing with shielding me, my energy, my life from the cult itself. And so what this sentence was basically saying is showing me that there's a person that did not encounter benevolence, so much so that when they're seeing vulnerable person, their instinctual desire is not as some other part. Okay, when there was another part in that therapy, but before that, he would say, yeah, or if he felt, he believed that I was at this helpless situation, that he wanted to tend to me, okay, to sort of like to rescue me. So he also had both the desire to rescue, and at the same time, when he saw genuine vulnerability, or what he perceived as vulnerability, he would have another part, maybe another aspect of his psyche that wanted to actually be cruel towards me, and unfortunately acted it out. Okay, so it acted both the person that wanted to protect, but also the person that wanted to break down. And this is unfortunately a part of SRA, and I've been shown, I don't know if it was done to him, but about of what people call satanic ritual abuse. So those type of ritual abuse they do to children, to people, when they encounter the cult, they break down the psyche, so much so that the personality is molding in a certain way, that is either being controlled by the cult, or that they perpetuate harm. Okay, and he was at the role of a therapist, of a psychoanalyst, psychodynamic psychotherapist. So when you think about genuine benevolence, okay, you think about this as the balm for such wounds, as healing and protecting your energy, okay, as the medicine that is genuinely benevolent. It was not available from a doctor, not available from a person that the cult is infiltrated, but now you can access this through making your own talisman, but basically where the moon is in good condition, at the 10th lunar mansion, and you can consecrate your own talismans, your own intention to it, and have that genuine benevolence. Okay, so when I started this with betray the cult, not we the people, I want to talk about the astrological gate that I feel brings this out the most, and this is the trine between Sedna and Gemini. The trine between Sedna also when she was in Taurus, but especially Sedna in Gemini, and Pluto in Aquarius, and later in Capricorn, and then in Aquarius again. Sedna is an Inuit goddess, and she's the goddess of the underworld. She was not accounted for by her tribe, okay? So her father was not able to either marry her to someone that she desires, or protect her from someone that promised her freedom, but unfortunately abused her, that came from another tribe. It was the Birdman. There are several versions to this story. In any case, the father betrays the daughter eventually and cuts off her fingers so that she is drowning. She's holding on to his boat, He's cutting off her finger because he cannot anymore with the ravens that attack him, and so on. Or he sells it to a man, abuses her, then she runs away, and he cuts off a finger. So she delves into the sea. There's nobody to take care of her in the tribe. And the father knows he will get old, he will not be able to take care of her. And she becomes the sea goddess. The creatures of the sea, Inuit live next to abundant seas, but that's pretty much what they have to thrive from, because they live in colder places of the earth. And so the rituals around sedna and honoring sedna is both the Inuit throat singing that we see that is very likely to do with throat chakra, healing chakra, but also the rituals of brushing the air with your fingers, also to brush the hair of sedna's hair comb, holding a comb on the altar. And believe it or not, sedna is actually used not just as the goddess of the sea animals and to revere sedna so that they will have food, but also to find true love. And you would think, how come a goddess that never in her life managed to find freedom in a relationship? That's what she was looking for, is to be free with someone. Okay? She didn't want the man that took her freedom away. She wanted to be free with someone. So in one version, she was sold anyway. Another version, a man from another tribe promised her freedom, but unfortunately, he was not yielding on his delivery. She may remind us of the pre-Abrahamic story of Lilith in some ways, just that it was a creation story of Lilith with Adam, and here there was already a tribe, and she was a part of the tribe. And so sedna teaches us first that hurt people hurt people. Okay, the tribe never had accommodation for a free woman. Okay, it's an ancient story. But also to require the same respect in every place where sedna is, we require certain respect that society still needs to get accommodated to. And it's good for society. Okay, if you think, for example, about the type of feminism in Taurus that required willing consent. Okay, so going to what is willing consent. Okay, how important it is for the genitalia health, for fertility, for how do you know that is willing consent? Okay, both from your body and all the connections that you have to yourself. Okay, whether it's withdrawn consent, what about the communication, the role of illusion and masquerade versus, and all these stuff that we explored, that we required a new type and never before seen type of honor and respect, and in many cases where that was not accommodated for, so people felt betrayed. Unfortunately, it's also still about whether people talk about incest and so on. Unfortunately, this was also the case. And now sedna in Gemini is bringing this theme into the sign that deals with children, and the sign that deals with technology, the sign that deals with society, but on a level of conflict. Okay, so when there is a civil war, a civil conflict, as the sign of the city. Okay, it's no longer the village, but the city. And so what type of honor never before seen in society during civil wars, in the city, towards children, towards trade, towards the game of life and how we play it. This is a very Gemini thing. Okay, the game of life and how to play it is a very Gemini title. And so sedna is going to demand honor never before seen, respect never before seen towards people. Okay, And so when that's not accommodated for, it's going to be betrayal. So for example, with the ingress of Sedna, immediately we saw the difference between the Ukraine-Russia war, where there were other type of war crimes, and the ritual crimes and everything. Sedna was already evident there, but with Al Ghul, then with the Mediterranean conflict, which Israel and Palestine, it was already, there was still the ritual rapes, the ritual war crimes is what they do for the cult, and I'm going to talk about it very, very soon. We'll talk about the trine to Pluto. But we also saw the conjoining of suddenly credit cards and technologies being able to be transferred and renewed, and passports being able to be renewed if you have a biometric passport. Okay, but suddenly they could send a credit card not to your address, but they would email to you the passport, or they would email to you a phone where you go look for it. But before that, you did not have that honor. You did not have that respect. Only when the war came. And on the other hand, you could renew your passport in Israel right now by just having your fingerprint. If it is already existing, you can just order a passport. It's valid for 5 years. On the other hand, we had way more amputated limbs from the veterans that went to the war in Gaza than ever before seen in a battle in the history of the 75 years of the recent Israel-Palestine condition. So this is a very different sedna, and this is also sedna that requires us a different level of analysis. Before the 7th of October, there was basically a mini civil war in Israel. People demonstrated against certain juristic changes, and there were cult involvement in those, and very much cult symbolism in the war. Right before that, we had a newspaper. All the newspapers in Israel were covered with a black page. Okay, and I think it was a Friday, where you could see that the demonstration, the supposed protest, bought all the papers, all the media in Israel. So you understood you're in no good hands, either with the protesters or with the regime. And there was a lot of occult symbolism into the supposed people's protests. And then the symbolism of let's unite together in the war with the amputated limbs of the people that came back. And at the first day, very much like the 73 oil crisis, the first day, 8 to 12 hours it took for the soldiers to do something about the invasion, while the people, the watchers, the women watchers that were trying to warn everybody for weeks and even months, were life threatened, and many of them were murdered in the 7th of October, so that nobody will find out. So there was a tremendous betrayal that people experienced on that day, which is already a sedna theme. Okay, it was not just an invasion, at this, at that, an invasion and then a response that is genocide, not genocide, but actually a very betrayal experience of the citizens by the people who are supposed to help them and save them and guard them. Okay, so this is very much the sedna story. Here's the sedna story is not those out there, but it's actually the country, the state. And today in Israel, there's the Memorial Day. There is also a Memorial Day, and it's going to be tomorrow instead of Independence Day. There's going to be another ceremony where every Independence Day they light up torches, and sort of like important people, they bring in important, good citizens, and so on. So they're going to have the same ceremony, but instead of lighting up a torch, they're going to throw out the fire of torches, okay, one by one, in the commemoration of the experience of betrayal of the state during the 7th of October. Okay, so this is something you really need to know about what happened, but this is also bringing in the other side of the story, the other, not other side, but additional side to the story. That is Pluto, that's trining this whole deal from Capricorn Aquarius. And this is not only the betrayal of the state in the citizens, but also the betrayal of those who are supposed to be the protesters, which eventually are discovered as the supposed the supposed force that's supposed to be united amongst everyone, all the religions, all the sects, everybody. That force is also betraying the people, the children, and the citizen. And this is where I started this episode with: betray the cult, not the people. And so when we talk about power and how power is performed and executed in the world, one of the planets we talk about is Pluto. Okay? But Pluto have a very important quality. First of all, if I listen to historians, and they say that every 250 years or so, an empire falls and another one rises. If I think astrologically, that coincides with a cycle of Pluto that is 248 years. The next stop is the United States, that is having a Pluto return, is very evident. Okay, we had one case of a Donald Trump saying, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath to the country that is supposed to be the greatest leading democracy in the world. But then we find out it is not just one person who is behaving very weirdly, but apparently it is under the US Supreme Court law permissible for a current US president to assassinate his counterpart if he so believes that this counterpart is corrupt. Okay, so just like Trump threatens in a bloodbath, Joe Biden, for example, is permissive to assassinate Donald Trump if he believes that Donald Trump is corrupt. So that is a Pluto return for the grandest democracy that we've seen. We've seen many such cases. Recently, I looked at what WikiLeaks leaked about the files from the email of Hillary Clinton. Okay, and that actually, although she's absolutely not a saint, there was a time where there was an American person in North Korea that got arrested. We don't know how it happened, and he had hard manual labor, and Kim Jong-un agreed only to meet with Hillary Clinton. We don't know why. Only Hillary Clinton. He said he would only honor a request from Hillary Clinton. He met with Hillary Clinton. He was ready to release this person. He just wanted to make sure that the United States would not invade North Korea, and that the United States honors him as a leader, so that they will not try to outthrow him and make an even greater Taliban like they did in Afghanistan, in North Korea, with another head. Okay? And so he was ready to release this person. Ready to release. Miss Clinton went back to the Congress. They delayed, but they delayed so much so that eventually Kim Jong-un understood that the one person that he was ready to honor, ready to speak with in the US, in the entire US regime, that person does not hold enough power in the system to negotiate with him. It's basically when Kim Jong-un, leader of probably the most terrifying country to us Westerners in the world, was happily ready to speak with a woman, white Western woman leader, and release the person that was the American citizens that were there, knowing that this American citizen has seen the jail inside of North Korea, the hard manual labor, the reality inside of North Korea, and he's going to go back to the state. All he wanted was not to have the US off with his head and to honor the sovereignty of North Korea. And the United States kept on and 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 kept on, and nothing happened. Okay, that was on WikiLeaks, and now we have on May 20 the case for Assange, Julian Assange, this Gerrit Belmarsh, and is going to be hearing his sentence. Will he be extradited to the United States to basically be executed? They call it slow motion execution, because he is sentenced for 100 and something. Yes, he's 51, 52 right now. And he's been in jail in UK since I think 2017. He was beginning to serve his time for espionage, for basically founding WikiLeaks. It's a news platform. In every news, you get your information by people who give you the insider information. And that's what he did. But this time, the insider information, it came from Macron, from Hillary Clinton, from the United States, on the CIA, spying on everyone, okay, exposing big scandals, and doing what journalism is supposed to do. Okay, just to make good journalism is to expose valid information, valid documents from the sources that whose anonymity has to be kept for the livelihood. And for example, the Boeing crisis, with so many people assassinated for being whistleblower, could not happen if Julian Assange was free, because they could just leak these documents anonymously to WikiLeaks, and it would be published that there is a problem with Boeing. How many people assassinated because Julian Assange is imprisoned? And if he's extradited to the United States, CIA already tried to assassinate him outside of the United States. May 20 is when he hears the sentence. Will he be extradited or not? Okay. Now, at the gates of Pluto, which is both the downfall of empires, there is the understanding that the power that Pluto is holding and hiding has an expiration date to be rejuvenated and birthing something new. Pluto is also about birthing. Pluto is also the compost in your yard. Pluto is also the trash, okay, what you recycle, what you throw out and it receives another form. Pluto is alchemy in that sense. Pluto is nuclear energy. Okay? Pluto is also what is hidden. And so Pluto, it doesn't keep, for Pluto, if it hides something, it's just pregnant. And then it's going to birth. Now, what is it birthing? It depends. What is it pregnant with? Because Pluto is not about, if people think that Pluto is about hiding or keeping something hidden, they misunderstand the nature of the cyclical nature of this planet, of planets in general, but especially the cyclical nature of Pluto, that is the great rejuvenator. This is why authenticity is the biggest Pluto word. It's showing you what is hidden, then you become authentic and you have a rebirth. If it's a more harmonious aspect, you're eager to show, to see, to learn, to change. If it's a disharmonious aspect, there is more fear from what is to be exposed, what is to be seen, what is to be changed even in your life. Okay, that's why hard Pluto aspects are usually most feared. It's the same principle, okay, it is rejuvenating you, but the reveal is less harmonic. Okay, when my psychodynamic psychotherapist had told me that my being vulnerable makes him, triggers his cruelty and acted this cruelty, I was of course not enjoying that, yes, but it was also showing me that later I would understand and learn that this person was also at the juncture of the cult. He kidnaps children and puts people in hospitals by force, and it's like does all kinds of crazy things where they play as the savior, but also the perpetrator of horrid crimes. And so this is where we get to the structure of these pyramidal cults, but also the decentralized and global cults. And this is a structure that's reliant to get higher into the rank. It's reliant on betrayal. Okay? Betrayal here, well, it's a Pluto word as well. It's a sedna theme as well. So what happens when a trust is reliant on betrayal? You understand that the same people that ask you to ritually rape your counterparts in order to get endorsed by the cult, or else they're going to hunt you down, because if you already got their place, already got their convention, and it always looks like a place you really want to be at, then now you're in deep shit. And especially if you did something, they put it on camera, and this is how you get to see the entire, whether it's Epstein list, and then nobody's convicted, or the hip hop list, okay, all the way up to Jay-Z, Puff Daddy, and so on and so forth. Then suddenly everybody says they can get rid of whoever they want and just make them, less relevant or not convicted. And then it's just kind of like, oh, it's very easy to take down a politician. You just expose the one time that the people in your cult filmed them raping a boy. Okay, in Netherlands we have the case of Joris de Mink. There's associated with that, and we had a very famous actually crime reporter that defended, unfortunately, de Mink. Yes, so and all these cases where the Supreme Court is involved, where the leaders, the politicians, it's kind of like everyone in it. And so when the structure itself, it is reliant on betrayal. Yes, you betray. So you betray someone, you make a crime with the person that you betrayed. This is on tape. Now they got something on you, they control you. So you get your, your 15 minutes of fame or 50 years of fame, and then they off with your head whenever they feel like this fits, basically. Okay, so you understand that the cult is not reliable because its trust is reliant on betrayal. Now, this cult is, of course, running our economies, our politics, our world, pretty much. And this is where Sedna and Gemini asks of those Pluto. She's Sedna trying Pluto, betray the cult. Because they are going to off with your head. However way you told to kill, whether it's children or trading children or cause division or this or that, you are going to be killed in the same manner whenever they see fit. They're not going to leave you standing. Whoever you are. Why did Kim Jong-un wanted to talk to Hillary Clinton? He was trying to make sure that they're not going to off with his head. That the United States is not going to off with his head in this case. The leader of the most frightening country. Okay? Wanting to release an American citizen that knows everything about the inside of North Korea. Because he's been to jail. No problem. Just make sure you're not going to off with his head. And so when you get to the cult structure, yes, you see people that you think run the world, whether it's leaders, Supreme Court, funds, trusts. Okay, how is the movie about Julian Assange called? It's called The Trust Fall. It's airing now in London and UK and so on. It's called The Trust Fall. Why? Because these cults, they run the trusts where all the money sits. If you have millionaires, you ever heard of the book, the billionaire or the millionaire that sold his Ferrari and became a monk? Okay? He didn't sell his Ferrari. He put the Ferrari on the trust. Then he wrote the book. Then he doesn't have any property. He has more profit from the book. It's written on the trust. But how can he trust the trust? Basically, you're sending your, as per, on paper, you're writing all your assets on another name. How can you trust these guys? Well, the trust is reliant on betrayal. If you have the name that you write this on photo raping a child, on photo giving comments, like what Hitler do genocide, he was signing with blood. You don't need to sign with blood for the cult to do human trafficking, child trafficking, organ trafficking of children. No need to sign with blood. You can hear it from Ronald Bernard, who got to this, almost to this position. Then when it came to harm children, because he was a child that was harming, he bifurcated not towards perpetuating like my ex-therapist, but towards I don't want to see that done. So he was ready to go through torture and just get out, and he would not say the names of the people he's been affiliated with. He was a top banker. He was basically a top criminal, a top criminal. So this is how they trust the trust. And I remember when I looked at this trust thing that they use for tax evasion, for this, for that, and I heard, you try to get to learn about the financial freedom, this and that, and I was listening to people, and they say, oh, I wish I would have my own trust, and I would put the money in the trust. And I said, what is this trust? But the word trust, I said, how do they trust the trust? Because I knew I worked as credit card company representative, and I understood that they tried to make me say things that would fool the people and would get them to pay credit, to pay money they don't have, would get people in debt. Before 2008, I said, I don't want to do this. Eventually, we moved out of the city, so I left the job. Okay? But I was not ready to do this line of credit, this type of sales. And I didn't know what to do anymore, because it was not easy for me to get a job either. You can understand from my story why. Yes, I'm a whistleblower. So, what do you do for a living? I whistleblow. You're looking for honest people in your company. I think we will not give it a shot. So that's the story of my vocational. You got my resume now, and now that you got my resume, so I knew that the word trust definitely does not belong when you think about your life insurance, your housing, that the grandchildren will have house and so on, and your assets and how to keep the power. So what they do, if you have a photo of this person in the trust, this lawyer who's under which name everything is, when you have a photo of him on photo raping a child, you say, oh, now I can trust that my grandchild will have the property because he don't want to be exposed. Yes, it doesn't really help your grandchildren, because somebody will sign with blood to genocide the entire place. You're not gonna even be able to do something. They off with the head of the rapist, and as they say in Arabic, salamat, in Japanese, sayonara, and in a German, auf Wiedersehen, auf nie Wiedersehen. Or shall I say in Hebrew, never again. So that is the story of these. And when I say betray the cult, it's an understanding that those people that in whichever way joined these cults, they better off betraying the cult. Okay? Because how does the cult imprison them? They say to them, they frighten them, but it's not like the cult is not going to try to do all these things to them if they listen to the cult. They're unreliable because the trust is reliant on betrayal. Sedna in Gemini has a knack for it immediately. 0-degree Gemini. Now, this is the most an initial, but also the most pure form type of behavior of the sign. If you listen to degree theory by Nicola Stoyanovich, deceased Nicola Stoyanovich, who may or may not have been assassinated, he suddenly died of COVID one day. And he has degree theory on various things, but he also analyzed the theory of to kill and be killed, 22 degree, of what he called pure evil is 18 degree. But I call it the degree of poisoning. It's a Virgo degree, and with Virgos the problem is poisoning, because he's using chemistry for poison. Very dangerous for people in such degree to cooperate with medical warfare. Okay, it's like you end up either like Stalin or like Hitler. Stalin had no doctor. Hitler had a doctor, but it was Dr. Mengele, so he out and unalived himself. And of course the 11th degree, which is considered suicide, but that was less the word, it was more the 22nd degree. Because if you take a look at the WHO natal chart, you see 3-4 planets with the 22nd degree. Some of them are outer planets, which meaning generational assassination. It is basically screaming democide. And if you look at the policies, then you get it even more. It's already there. And so, with sedna trining Pluto, there's both the attempt to perpetuate these mass betrayals. Unfortunately, we've seen that in the 7th of October. We are seeing that in the world, and it's very easy for people to pay attention to the superficial levels and not to the deeper levels. And I can say that if I was not in a situation where I just had a team of astrologers that recently had Pluto in their 12th house in Capricorn, and a team of Israeli people on Facebook who have been survivors of incest, of sexual assault, and have healed themselves in spite of the system, basically. And that they would live in a village, grow their vegetables, and then they would see cameras in like weird places, it's trying to seeing that there's something off here, receiving a direct no, people who've been raped and receiving direct no on the Pfizer shot, okay, seeing what was going on way before everything. I was seeing from the perspective of philosophy of science that the discourse where we either put a person as no vaccines at all, or as a person that's like no vaccines at all, you must be a tree hugger, or you must try this vaccine because medicine and blah 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 blah. Okay, we don't have an actual medical discourse, an actual honoring of the patient, and to me, from the very academic perspective, it just seems off. But I was surrounded with people who viscerally felt that shit is off. Okay, if I didn't have them around me, it would be even later that I would wake up to what the heck is going on. So if you have no idea what is going on, it's not because you're stupid. You have not been exposed to that. You've not been on the group of people who are targeted, whether to violence. You grew up in a place that was, I guess, more on the norm and less on the margins of society, and you're not damned for being so. Okay, it is also important because the sooner that you are in contact with these people who've been in the margins of society and understand that they're not at all the crazy people, at the margins comes to the center, the better off you are at preparing for that. And when the margins and the center come together, then we can intercept and see our power as society, and for you to see your power sooner, because a lot of people feel helpless and powerless, and this is not necessarily the case for you. So Sedna is asking to betray the cult, not the people. Okay? Is also asking for us to begin to accommodate for a never before seen honoring of children's rights. Now let's think about when let's think about the Industrial Revolution, the last time of Pluto, before Sedna. Sedna was still in, never mind, before Sedna, I don't remember what Sedna was back then. Not gonna try it. Maybe Aries or Pisces. So when we think about the Industrial Revolution, we see children working in a factory. Yes? Now, we still have child labor. It's just happening in China. And then we say, oh, China's regime is blah, 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 blah. They're working for America. American comfort is made in China. You don't like child labor in China. You don't like organ trafficking in China. Don't freaking buy. Don't freaking allocate to there. Okay? But when they try to do it local, then you have that in concentration camps in the US for the homeless. And as you know, more and more people are becoming the homeless, not just the margins or the BIPOC or the this or the immigrants or the that, or even the veterans becoming the average American, not being able to afford keeping their property and paying property taxes for their own property, having to sell their own property basically to the street because they won't find rent either. That's what we're up against. And so many people with Saturn in Pisces is ruling the Pluto repent, whether it's about the way we've been treating people in medicine. With Pluto in Aquarius, it's actually not necessarily the medicine for women so much as the neurodivergence of society and the what in Hebrew we call maschara, okay, the merchant that they make from surgeries and pills and so on as medication and so on. And so the indoctrination into a world of chronic ailment is more the issue than let's say when we talk about COVID, that it was in Capricorn, with Venus playing a part in Sedna, in Venus sign, it was more about the fifth vital sign and women and the borderline and so on, and then the return to center, which was the narcissist, and so on, and until they got into like CPTSD. Let's name it the way it is. But CPTSD, the P is for post, for after the trauma, while we still need to have the social change to change the situation so that we can be after the trauma, and then perhaps recovery is way easier than we think, because there's nobody planning a world war on your head when you're a veteran. So a lot of things, a lot of the flashbacks supposedly that people been having were not but premonitions of war situations that have been in script writing, okay? And you understand that when they plan such things, they do kidnap people, they do make experiments on people, okay? That's very much what happened to me as well. It took me 4 or 5 years to understand that this was what it was about. I just didn't get what's going on. And I saw they tried to make me afraid of Arabic people, and then I would get like other voices that were like, "Hey, look at this scary Arab person," and I was just like, "This part of our citizens, come shake his hand," and so on. And it's like very weird stuff. But I was really exposed to all the psyops that are done. Where if you only see the perpetrators, let's say a man, you would be afraid of men. As a Muslim man, you would be afraid of Muslim men. They dress people up in costumes and they make a big play, and then people get divided, and they have genuine trauma to do with these experiences. So now Islam is triggering, men are triggering, women are triggering, and so love is triggering, or joy is triggering, and so on and so forth. And that's pretty much the way these cults operate, okay? They make it, life becomes a trigger rather than a joyful experience. That it is a joyful experience, okay? There are, yes, mostly it is about being joyful experience. There are people who live at the poles where the weather is very harsh. and they have their own philosophies of life, but they are responding to nature, okay, not to plain spraying clouds above you. Today, for example, for Independence Day, they made a great weather. Wonderful, wonderful. If I go outside, I had almost had to guard my lungs for a wind disease at the middle of May. But here is usually hot. In the desert is hot. So, sedna is going to require a never before seen type of honoring. The citizens to the country, people to whoever is going to try to have like, the city life with everything digital, with everything this, with everything that. Sedna is going to require a never before seen type of respect. Unfortunately, the process to get there can be tedious. So if we talk about sedna in Taurus, women were blamed for being raped. Women were not believed. Women were seen as crazy. And then after we had like the Me Too, men began to talk about their experiences and eventually also were believed and acknowledged, like eventually in the case of Johnny Depp, by the very feminists that were pushing on for Me Too. And so what was created was a situation that women required a never before seen type of respect and also were willing to give, because it's a Venus sign, this type of respect. Yes, because if I understand that if my vagina gets yeasty when even I, already want to, have some fun, but it's not the correct man for me, it's too quick, it's this, it's that, I'm going to get yeasty. And so I understand that it's also bad for my penile counterpart. And this very willing consent is extended to the rest of the genders. It's the great thing about the Venus sign here. With the Mercury, we are talking about the digital world versus accessibility to people without limbs. The ability to have implanted limbs and even implanted brain chips, and the difficulty around that, because how can I believe Elon Musk that he has great clinical trials when I know that before him came, first of all, people who tried these chips and they went in and out of hospital. This was a great nightmare. And they also had to try psychiatric pills that were not supposed to even be in use for the many people that were murdered by these and this is already murder. It's not when you don't know. Medical experiment is when you don't know the result. It's not medical experiments in people. It's literally murdering people by the masses using these type of pills and this type of disease that they think, the person is crazy. They will not be believed. Open dialogue approach with housing first, as it is practiced in Finland. Found out that suddenly the hardest of the mental diseases, psychosis, is not only treatable, but when a person have housing, is seen and validated, doesn't have to live and reside with the person that was violating the sexual or otherwise boundaries, now the voices become encouraging. Oh, really? They didn't know. Think about all the Americans having intrusive thoughts. Whereas people in China, the voices that they hear is of sometimes beings and political leaders and deceased people having comforting messages towards them. Okay, it's a cultural thing. Here they use psychic attack. Here they use other. Okay, then there are the dead fans, which is, of course, also it was used in China again before the Second World War. And that was inspiration to the ovens of the death and concentration camps in Germany. And by the way, the US did the same thing to Germans and the same things to American today, just not with ovens. It just put them in forced labor, and not unlike North Korea. So this is, and when you have a global body that is looking at all these countries and performing experiments here, experiments there, and taking the worst from everyone to design a one world something, you understand that we all do desire to have I don't know, people communicating in the same language and not having to learn 30 different languages when you have people from 30 different people. So we want to be able to translate, to communicate, to travel, to share experiences. We definitely don't want to give up our divergence. Okay? Pluto sedna, again, exposing whatever is involved with threatening the very type of trust that we actually need. It's not a trust that's reliant on betrayal. Sedna asks us to accommodate for what has never before been accommodated for. And this is a big process, because what was the story of Inuit Sedna? Okay, when after her father cut off her fingers, she drowned in the sea, and she became the goddess of the underworld. Inuit people, if they did not appease Sedna, they would not survive as a whole tribe. Okay? Because they would have no food. Why? Because Sedna did not have food. They did not accommodate for a single free woman in the tribe. So now they have to revere Sedna, otherwise, no food. Yes? We think about the end of Sedna in Taurus. What happened to the state of Israel that has a sun on Algol? The female watchers, the women watchers, they warned there's going to be something. The war veterans, they warned there's going to be something. They didn't listen to these women. They threatened these women. In 7th of October, they murdered these women. And there was a big invasion with a huge betrayal. And then the other part of it is that they were using the global forces using Algol as ritual sacrifice. They thinking that if they rape people, that would appease Algol. No, it enrages Algol. It enrages, it sets her up against you. Because she's been through rape. But if you learned Algol as the seductress that was punished, then you don't know that that's what they teach you in the cult. In the cult, they teach you that she has snakes because she wanted dick so much, and that's what happened to her. That's what they teach you. And how do I know this? Because when I was in academia, there was one person that he was with these cult people, and I saw he tried to get into my psyche. Eventually, I got to know how he thinks. I look at Sedna, and then I see like him looking at Sedna, at Algol, him looking at Algol, and looking at the snake, and he said, oh, she wanted... And I'm like, you fucking crazy. She was not Indra. I think it's like the story of, it's not Indra. It's not Indra. She was raped, not believed, and murdered. Then she made men into stone. So if you ritually rape people in the name of Algol, you are stirring up her rage. Okay, but in the cult, they don't teach you that. Because they want you to have the wrong knowledge, because the trust is reliant on betrayal. Okay, if you have to do a harm to another person, to betray a person, to get to higher rank in the cult, okay, so everything they teach you is backside, is offside, is weird, is so that you will betray people. But eventually they betray you. And you have nothing to say, because they say, we don't teach you Christianity, we don't teach you this, we teach you Lucifer. It's not even Lucifer. If Lucifer is Venus, is will and consent. It is not even Satan, because if Satan is Saturn, what's the best thing? It rules the skin. What's the best thing for your skin? They get a good night's sleep. They have enough dedication and effort, so you get a good night's sleep to do the right thing. This is Saturn. This is the Lord of Karma, for heaven's sakes. Okay? But they teach you satanic this, satanic that. Ain't nothing. If you do these rituals, you're basically, now they're telling you, off with your head right now, because right now you did this thing that can cause us to off with your head. And it's no problem. We have no implications, because you already did bad things, so we can do bad things to you. Doesn't matter that they did the same bad things. Okay, and then it's like Hamula wars, tribal wars. All over, for control, for this, for that. Nobody is safe. Nobody is this or that. For power. What's power? powers Pluto. Pluto is birthing. It's only keeping something hidden for it to grow, so that it is, when it's ready, it's birthing what is. When you keep a compost in your yard, okay, what do you do with the compost? Every day you take what's in and turn it outside. Take what's out, turn it inside, okay? By this process, what's in outside, what's out inside, okay? What do you do with nuclear energy? Okay, you cause it to stress so much that the in becomes outside. Okay, this is fission. And fusion is where you draw it outside. Yes? So that again the inside becomes outside, but by different type of forces. It's the opposite type of force. You stretch it so much so that it becomes, or you condense it so much so, this is fission and fusion. Or centrifugal and and the other, I don't remember. Okay, so with Pluto, this is the job. Okay, what's inside, outside, what's outside, inside. And now, tomorrow again, what's inside, outside, what's outside, inside. But Pluto is a very slow-moving planet. Eventually, you have a compost. What do you do with the compost? You put it for your for things to grow, and this is how you grow with Pluto. You turn over things, what's inside, outside, inside, this or that, and then you learn. Okay, if I wouldn't look, what is Pluto work? It's me looking at WikiLeaks and looking for an item to speak about every day. So one item I found at the Hillary Clinton email list was this person, this American person in North Korea. The frightening, oh my God, I'm so scared of North Korea, and rightfully so. And the leader of the most frightening place is wanting to speak to a white American woman to say, please, that's older than him, okay, he's my age, he's born in 84, that's older than him, and saying, please, I'm ready to release this person, just make sure you don't off with my head and you don't invade my country. All we want, just respect our sovereignty, respect my sovereignty, and he'll get him back. Then Hillary goes, and nobody answers Hillary. Then again, Hillary goes, nobody answers Hillary. They think, oh my God, this big American woman, that the only person who I would honor her request, because I think is the big American, I don't know, maybe upcoming president of United States. Yes, she has no power in the United States. Okay, so what's inside, outside, what's outside, inside. You learn that the scariest leader of the scariest country was actually very willing to negotiate with the United States. All he wanted was sovereignty. And perhaps all the controlling that he have over the population is for afraid to lose his head. Maybe he was not afraid so much to lose his head. He would be very more liberal, because he was willing to let go of an American citizen like that knew everything, like that. And waiting and waiting and waiting. It's just all he wanted. Just don't make me lose my sovereignty. You get him back, it's no problem. But I have to keep him in jail. He made offense in my country. I cannot. Okay? And then you have the biggest president, and she's like, oh my God, she's not even so powerful in the system. And he would request to talk only to her. This is Pluto. What's inside, outside, what's outside, inside. We think North Korea, you get to North Korea, there's no way out. He wants to let it, please. Talk to the big, here, a woman. Please help this person, please. I don't want anything. You take this person back. Just make sure, I have to say something. You just make sure you don't violate my sovereignty. All I ask for is this, and you get this person back. It's no problem. And he wants to talk to a white woman to show respect. Respect to her white woman. Yes, and I know that women in the North Korea is also in the United States. But they want you to see that country and that country. Oh, in Afghanistan, women are not treated well. Well, what did the United States did about that? They made it even worse. So now you can say, I'm an American woman, I'm free. And then you give a birth to a baby, and then they kick you out of the hospital. No matter how you pay the most, they kick you out of the hospital. Go back. You didn't pay for this. Go back. With the baby in your hands. After childbirth. United States. Okay? So that is wrong, that is wrong, but that is also wrong. And it's not about, oh, do you want to go to the... No, you need to give freedom. Not freedom in relation to freedom. Sedna is going to be just about these things. Whether it's childbirth, children, trading children. And the world is going to see with the trine here, everything that triggers it. And Jupiter is just about to delve into it. Jupiter makes things bigger and bigger. It's left Algol, make things bigger and bigger. Who knows what we will find out? And with Pluto is about rediscovery of power. What you thought was not even an issue becomes an issue. What you thought is, oh my God, this big, huge, scary thing becomes a non-issue. Okay, just like in the story of the emails is a very communication. This is Gemini of Hillary Clinton and Kim Jong-un. We would think that American prisoner and America would try to release this prisoner and Kim Jong-un would say no and no and no. And then we have Kim Jong-un literally begging this American person's called turn into the woman, said I would only honor her request. Just what he wants, don't violate my sovereignty and don't replace me and don't invade my country. Okay, but take this person back, he's American, he's your person. Yes, America doesn't respond. Hillary tries, and she's no saint, but the Congress won't respond. Okay? So, Sedna, again, if you don't accommodate for Sedna, she becomes an underworld goddess that you all have to accommodate for your very survival. For example, if Israel did not listen to women, yes, not only women will have the answer as to everything. And everybody will have to, you will see such situation. Israel did not listen to its war veterans. Only the war veterans know. If you feed the homeless in Israel, you know. Don't believe me? Feed the homeless in your country. Have a little bit of a conversation. Yes? Don't believe me? Go ahead, feed the homeless in your country. If you have still some money, some ability to purchase money to buy food, buy something for you. Buy two of something. This is Gemini. Good remedy. Buy two of something, give one thing. And especially if it is ticket for something, like ticket for the train, ticket for this, ticket for that. Buy two of something. Buy somebody, charge somebody's card. Buy them a card. Allow them to travel public transportation. Advocate for people if they're stopped on the train. One thing I did with the Mercury talisman, there was an Ethiopian man and woman, and they did not have probably money to charge for both of them, so they charged for one. Then the lady comes to check with their ticket, and she's very well indoctrinated. She said, you need responsibility, Rosh Gadol, okay, big head, responsibility. And I tell her, oh, how are you? How this, how that? Yes, oh, well, yes, there's different culture, and they don't understand so much the language. Yes, they don't have your culture. They don't have your culture to have big head, to have big this, to have big that. Meantime, she had to go in the other station, and they were not charged. They did not have the money. It won't help that she charges. It's not like they're hiding the money. There's a woman pregnant and with her husband. They don't have the money. So this is something to do. This is another Sedna remedy. Okay? Advocate for, you don't have to get into big conversation. It's Gemini. You smooth talk things. Then you talk and it's then how you do and how you this and how you that and so on. You compliment the person. And meanwhile, she goes out. They stay, they go the ride. It was not big head, it's small head to ask for this, but if I acted like that, she would try to report me. This is small head, this is stupid, this is that. Yes, depending on the Dutch, some of them would say, yes, she's right, she's also. You must pay and so on. No, they don't. They drive black because it's too expensive. It's like a flight ticket to have the train from Amsterdam to, I don't know, Utrecht or something. So everybody drives black. But the most they appreciate the people on the train is that you speak honestly with them. They will tell you what to do. It's just like, please don't lie to me. Please respect me. So then it's the best way. If you try to evade that, they don't like it. So tip for how to drive black in the train, perhaps. I don't know. I used it only as homeless, but yes. So more to do with this sedna Pluto, and again to the topic of betraying the cult. People already identify that there is something off with the many ways in which things are off around them, and to each person it meets them in a different way. Okay, whether it's the funny Kafka stories of wanting to take a public transportation and not having the person who's amputated limb from the war, not having the biometric thing to order the passport for 5 years and so on. So the Kafka stories around are going to be paramount, and people already get that is not logical. What they tell them, for example, just yesterday, I was recording a video and twice I got a call from a parent in the other city. And I didn't think much of it. I said, I will return to them, it's no problem. I returned to them, they tell me there was 9 missiles shooting to our city. Now, if you don't know the story for right now, basically Israel is said to have pretty much conquered Gaza and is in Rafah, which now is already invaded. Okay? Where did they send the missiles? For you see, it doesn't make sense. If I thought to myself, if the Jews were genocided like this and they would send missiles from Ghetto Warsaw, then they would win the war. But there's something weird that we understand that is kind of a globalist something, that under the masquerade of this and that, and soldiers died, and Gazans died, and Israeli died, and they blame this, they blame that, and nobody tends to the actual fact that the WHO got rights to invade your country and get security decisions, education decisions. It's supposed to be a World Health Organization. And that happened this May. Okay, it was the CBDC. They wanted to recognize you by your face recognition. And it doesn't seem, it doesn't sound so terrible that if you go to the airport, they recognize. I think it happened to me when I was in Netherlands. It was recognizing you by your face. Here you have to show your face, and then it recognizes you. Or in Israel. And, it's quite comfortable to say the truth. Okay, you go, you say, aha, and then you can move on to the plane. But the other implications for that, and this is, of course, the surveillance and the forced stuff, like that people know where you at every place, or to connect the car to your phone and so on. So a sedna is going to require the utmost respect, and when sedna is not accommodated for it means that in this case the city, yes, will have to in some way revere sedna. Otherwise, if it's not listening to the sednas, to whoever is the sedna, here sedna is the children and the people that were, if it is a civil war, okay, so the people that are left out, there's not anybody who's not accommodated for. Would you think the children that are not believed? That's very much sedna. There's Gemini people, because Gemini is also associated, Mercury is associated both with lies and being trustworthy. When people in Gemini, they lie because you're not allowing them to tell the truth. Usually that's the thing, or they adjust their personality to what you think is the spirit, or they contradict it, or they play the contradiction for like an argument and so on. But they don't have a filter, they're very frank and they're very trustworthy if you let them, but if they even sense that they would be, I don't know, penalized for telling the truth, then sometimes they even say the truth just like that because they don't have a filter, and sometimes they find a trickery to get what they want, basically, or to get their needs met. So this is where the phase where you do trial and error, but also the phase where you build things, and also the phase where you try. It's kind of like that sentence: if you don't like my truth, if you don't like my opinion, I have other opinions. Yes, I don't remember from this film series. So if you don't like my opinions, I have other opinions. This is very much Gemini. So it's very, if you look, Elon Musk I think he has Gemini ascendant. And so if you look at him, he's very much like this. If you don't like my opinions, I have other opinions. but if you need but every once in a while I said, oh, I think they like provocative opinion, I will have provocative opinion. And he's great at that. He's great at maneuvering and sensing and tending to this, tending to that. Okay, I was tagging him in some post, and then I had another post where I posted Richard Feynman. And then I see him posting Richard Feynman in another video. So it's like, you've been noticed. So he's very attentive to people, but it's also about he will get his way. It's just say, well, you don't have this opinion, other opinion, just to this or just to that, so that he can do whatever the fuck he wants to anyway. But sedna is going to require people to betray the cult and not the people, to betray the cult and not the children. There would be really no much leeway. For example, if you take it sedna and Taurus, yes, for the people that have been betrayed, they no longer cooperate with any of the systems, whether it's welfare, the state, job market, economy. They do not cooperate with any of these systems. And they either created other systems, went to other places, or they were serving to wake us up towards what are they planning for the 2030. And they do not shut up. Not only do they not shut up, they will speak even deeper words. They will speak of even deeper realities. They will expose even more. You say, and they will have a very big "I told you so." If you weren't the belief, if you won't believe in them, they will have their "I told you so" moments. Yes, those that remained. Yes, because there were also people that were no longer alive. And they tried to even silence the voices of people that went away, but because they talked about everything that was going wrong, this was basically the cult, but they didn't know it, then they erased their posts. And of course a friend saw, posted, and then I kept the screenshots, and then these were things, they would be printed on every city, every place, every hospital, every a center for welfare or for youth, every place those things will be. This is what happens when sedna matures, okay? And now she will not handle, like, you do not be sedna, all of the city will have to rely on this sedna to appease sedna, basically to have their livelihood needs met. What are those needs? It's access to communication in Gemini. One of the things I recommend you not doing is messing with voices. For example, good thing that Elon Musk did, he saw, there is this voice that is represented in mainstream media, and he allowed this voice to rise. But he did it selectively, and then you have the freedom of speech, not reach. This, I think, he must change, because with sedna Gemini is not good to do that, because this is where it's kind of like the Achilles heel for when you do that. And then he will have to listen to those people that he silenced. And so what he responded, he said, unblock everybody on Twitter, but it's not possible, because if you have a stalky ex, or if you yourself don't want to be toxic, then yes, then you take a break, you block someone, then you later can unblock them. So it will bring you good fortune. But also, even for the leaders that, or the people that right wing and they speak, even the people that follow them are shadow banned. Okay, so it's very interesting that that this works in this way. So there is already a great advancement from, let's say, other social media platforms. But to be an alternative to 2030, there's another build-up that has to be there for X to prosper, because it has a lot of chance. But for this, he would, I think, need to betray the cult. And it's very important to know that whatever they threaten to do you, it's not like they will not try to do you if you obey them. But when you are not betraying the people, then the people will stand for you, and you will have open security. Okay, when you have systems. Okay, just like people can dox people can vouch for you, because you represent them, so they can vouch for you and tend to the cult, which is important to understand. That it's also important for us, for we the people, to understand that this is what we talk about. The power of the people is not the power to dox someone, or the power to make someone feel unwanted or misrepresented, but actually the power, or to cancel someone. Okay, there was a lot of things that were happening. They were taking, let's say, the Me Too to canceling people on the one hand, but not actually holding them accountable on the other hand. Okay, it's like, oh, the power that we have is to eliminate them from the discourse. But the power that we have to begin with is for the survivors to have housing, independent of the ability to work, to have a place to be, to not have to run into the offender, and for the offender to have the chance to really be in a place where they're not having the chance to hurt people, but they do have the chance to make better choices with their lives and recover and have access to being validated and being acknowledged. So nowhere near that has yet to have happened. And so in Gemini, we are seeing these issues of protests, social conflicts, social awareness to things. Okay, people are really going to raise a lot of questioning, but it's also the discourse being polarized and artificially so. So playing on the communication game with Sedna, she is asking to use the cunning abilities and the trickery abilities to be trustworthy, and to get the trustworthy out of the Mercury of Gemini. When it's not done, then come the big betrayal experiences. Okay? Doesn't mean that you are to blame if you've undergone betrayal, of course. Yes? That being said, when I think about, they don't know what's energy. I came after academia. I exposed the structure that is malefic, and the person that I was seeing in therapy was a part of this malefic structure. Okay? But I was that helpless that I just went to therapy with whatever, and thinking, I would use manifestation, and that unfortunately was insufficient. This is, but also there was this tremendous, where you need to have your survival, your livelihood needs, or you need help and so on. So it's those situations was trying to take responsibility, but that happened. Okay, so sometimes it's those betrayals that expose a deeper truth. This is especially important now when Sedna is trining Pluto. Next up is Jupiter to arrive at this point. It's already very, very near this point. Okay, and just a couple of degrees away. And so the next stop is the Sun, and then the next stop is Venus. Everybody that ingresses, everything that ingresses into Sedna, enters the gate of Sedna trine Pluto. Jupiter magnifies things. So betrayed the cult, not we the people, is very strong with that, but it's also true amongst we the people. It is a social sign not to betray others around us, okay, and to accommodate for a greater sense of respect. In you want to think where Gemini is for you, and it's going to also affect where Mercury is for you, and thus where Virgo is for you. Okay, there's a deeper sense of respect that is needed and is going to have to be accommodated for in the following 4 decades. So this is why it's difficult, because she moves very slowly and she tends to deep things. So Jupiter is going to make things bigger. It's also make things around religion. So the cult is a very big deal here. One of the things I saw online was a video of Faisal something, Muslim leader, supposedly exposing the Masons, and he says that the Masons are Zionists. Let's talk about Rosicrucians. Okay, Rosicrucians basically united all the religions, east and west, north and south. Okay, the Masons and the Illuminatis are descendants of the Rosicrucians. Yes, you can say all the you can say expose all the bullshit around Zionism, the connection to eugenics, the fact that the Jews of the early 1930s that came to Palestine under the British mandate, they encountered only psychiatrists that were Jewish psychiatrists trained to expel the Jews that came from pre-Nazi Germany, okay, 1930s Germany, Nuremberg laws, back to Germany because they deemed them unfit to work. It's not a joke. This is the history of psychiatry in Palestine. And some of these psychiatrists worked as bus drivers because they didn't have a job. And they took only the people that were fit to work. Those who not were deported back to basically what would be the Holocaust. It's the history of psychiatry in Palestine. So let's talk about this. There was a segregation, there was a eugenics regime in the psychiatric medical notion that imported the elements of eugenics, the Judaism of the Muslims. Okay, so Zionism in part was enabling eugenics. That's something to talk about. That's real dirty shit that needs to be abolished from the country. Enough with castrating Ethiopians. Enough with castrating the mentally ill. The mentally ill, give them freaking housing and give them freaking validation. And even psychosis is basically treated with none of your medications are basically lethal chemical weapons. Yes, that's great. That's lovely. Don't allow Zionism to enable that. Wunderbar. Don't make racial segregation a part of Palestine or tribal societies. Excellent. Yeah, but definitely don't say that the Rosicrucians are Zionists, because the Rosicrucians united the entire conglomerate of religions, Islam included. This is why I said to Mr. Geert Wilders, when he was threatened by supposedly Muslims that make nice photo shoots, but they are in the passenger seat, say, I'm driving to you to kill you. It's like you're driving from the passenger seat, you're gonna kill yourself. But it's not in England, it's Netherlands. But the thing is that these people, they are part of the cult. These pro-Palestine, okay, actual Palestinian people, they're not in the pro-Palestine stuff. They're not in that because it doesn't represent them, because it calls to a genocide and they want to live with Israel. Some of them want to live in Israel, but they want to live with Israel in peace and get this dumb fuckery, culty, world wild thingy out of the very fabric of Israel and Palestine. This is not Huefistan. This is Israel, Palestine. This is just one example. And imagine Ukraine and Russia. And imagine Congo. Here it's just a diversion tactic. Nobody even talks about Congo. It's like, even if it's diversion tactic from all the north building up A-bombs, defluoridization of the water. Yes, what do they do with all this fluoride? Yes, we all know. If you listen to Feynman, you know. And then you will have Elon Musk having Feynman talking about the galaxies and stuff. It's another fascinating thing to listen to about numbers that doesn't say anything political. So he captured this. I don't know how he found it, but it's touche. So one of the things that kind of we should be prepared for is exactly those type of things. The Muslim leader tells you, yeah, the Masons are Zionists. The Masons, darling, you're in the Mason. You're in the Illuminati. You're a part of the Rosicrucians. Delucify your position. And it sounds very convincing, okay? But it's basically that. The Ayatollahs of Day are no less terrible than the Ayatollahs that they put in costumes to threaten certain right-wing leaders with the same cult. It's the same cult. When he needs funding for his campaign, he has to go to the same cult, and so the same cult is used. Okay, enough with that betrayal, reliant trust. We don't need that. Sedna requires respect. When it comes to economic respect as well. 9/11 was a child game comparison to what Sedna can do in Gemini. This also we must be cautious from. The Boeing scandal that would all be avoided if WikiLeaks could operate like it operated when Assange was free. So whistleblowers could simply leak the documents instead of giving speeches to the very same community that will send people to assassinate them. Yes? So that would be on WikiLeaks. And Assange would be free and safe. Then we would know that Boeing just need a little bit more engineering. It's okay. I mean, they've been operating. My first flight has been on a 747. There's nothing wrong. You get your engineering in check. You get the planes back to work. Ain't nothing wrong. You don't have to kill people. Just get your planes back in check. What happened? They're manufactured by China. China won't do your thing anymore because it's doing bricks now. Okay, then we have to rethink about how we do industrialized revolution. Maybe with more labor rights. It will make the products even better. If you take it Lightyear 1, they got a great car. A solar car in the Netherlands. Would you believe a solar car in a country that everything is rain? All the time, rain, fogs, rain, fog, rain, fog, rain, fog. They get a solar car to work from Netherlands to Spain and back. One charge in Netherlands. You can do it. You can get your plane to go into the sky, back to the earth, and be okay. Just pay your fucking employees and give them some time to be childlike and creative. It's not that difficult. Jupiter is just that. So we saw Jupiter going through the last phase of Taurus. Now we heard about the whistleblowers that usually we don't. And we got the question, will they free Assange? Will they free the May 20? Will they free Assange? Joe Biden, what are you considering? Is it a pack of pedos that's bothering to free Assange at the Supreme Court? Gemini, ruled by Mercury, also rules heuristics, jurisprudence. Back to the discourse. This month I called it justice porn, because I'm honest, because I got mad. You remember my soul video? Watch my soul video, okay, where I told you what to do when you're pissed. You get pissed, get it right back to sender. Then the algorithm did a good thing, and I see a news network called Weltschmerz, so Dutch, and it has a video where they talk both about anti-WHO and reminding of the case of Joris de Mink, and that he was doing pedophile movies. He was a Supreme Court judge, okay, and I'm like, they talk about both of these together in Netherlands, so I say I have to listen, relearning the language again. Okay, this is where and why does it matter? Because movies, technology, pictures is Mercury. In children, again Mercury. So pedophilia is already the Pluto trine, yes, exposed. Supreme Court, also Mercury. Judges. Yes, so this case was, I think, from the 80s or so. I don't know. And you think about these judges enabling the WHO and to indoctrinate the children to have sex with one another and sex with adults. Okay, to rape the children basically is exploitation. And we've had enough of sedna in Taurus to understand genuine sexuality, the depth of sexuality, what it takes for willing consent, the ability to explore the erotic desire, okay, the ability of the body to respond. Yeah, these children yes, it's true, children touch themselves, they please themselves, want to allow them good sexual interaction with themselves and not to shame them on their sexuality. But yes, absolutely, this is not that children, no, come have sex with each other, have sex with adults. And I actually had a Gemini friend that looked at a certain sociological study of a country that was doing, society that was doing just that with children, and the children would be learning from the parent about sexuality and so on. And we know this happened also in Inuit society. They, until today, have the highest rate of suicidal cases. And when they talk amongst themselves, when I listen to Inuit speaking English, yes, in many places, when they talk amongst themselves, what do we need to do in our community, they talk about this habit of incest, okay, and that this creates, and that this is unfortunately becoming worse with the colonization. But yes, it's also bringing colonization. Yes, it's partaking in this. It's basically to incest the nation, yes. And so it's a point of interference that is allowing also the later greater steps in decolonization. They're not to blame for colonization, of course. And so we are all originally Inuit. And so when they talk about this, they talk about that they need to tend to the damages that are occurring from incest that later lead to addiction and to suicide. Highest rate of suicide among these people until today. Still sedna stories where the daughters are disappearing and the men they slaughtered them. So it's important, yes, not just we indigenous, but also to make sure that we do not sacrifice the well-being of the tribe for the appearance of, oh, let's preserve our traditions and this and that, because it's harming the tribe and it's keeping the tribe colonized, more so than it would if we learned from Sedna and appeased Sedna and abolished incest. So that we accommodate for free people, and where we accommodate as peoples for free people. And this is relevant not just to Inuit society, to each and every one of us on planet Earth, especially with Sedna and Gemini, it's the sign of children. We accommodate for free children. We basically accommodate for free people and free world in the world of Sedna in Gemini. Jupiter, gonna make it very big, especially when it comes to religion, philosophy, but also children, teachers, and gurus. Jupiter was also committing incest. Zeus was committing incest, and that was one of his shadow parts that we had to grow off, and we had to bring Jupiter, the grand optimist, yes, but with ethical sexuality. Next up would be the Sun. There's upon the Sun ingress into Gemini. Sun, of course, is leaders, but it can also be child prodigies. Sun is solar figure. If you think about the child stars, and I've already began to see kind of like the algorithm putting up all the cases of child stars and the many cases of pedophilia around that, or even even if not pedophilia, but also the children worked in hard conditions, no breaks. The first children stars, no breaks, no anything, and eventually the Great Depression, the family lost the money that was made from these children. You think, what a sadness story here. Yes, because these children were not accommodated for, they were exploited. And at that time, people did not even understand this. But these children, when they were exploited, eventually all the wealth that these children made, it was lost because it was taken away. Sedna is bringing us back to these stories. Venus is the child brides, naturally, but also the childlike, the baby face, the little, okay, just stuff to do with that, and how do we accommodate for these different archetypes in our cultures. And then we are beginning to delve into the grand Uranus ingress into Gemini to encounter Sedna. We have some time, okay, it's happened 2025, I believe. And before that, Uranus is going to go over Algol. So great time for Algol reverence. Great time to know that every 2 days Algol eclipses. Every 3 days, so the third 2 days, the third day she eclipses. Those are considered inauspicious dates. So we want to pay extra reverence to Algol. Ahead of time, we want to pay extra reverence to Algol in general. And then we have 2 good days of Algol. It's very important when anything like an outer planet is sitting on Algol, it's a prolonged time. Okay, it can take a couple of, it can take a month or even a couple of months on that degree. So it's already beginning to apply to Algol. I'm talking about the 25 to 26 to 27, that it's on punktlich, okay, it's on Algol, and those degrees we really need to know that Algol eclipses every 3 days. So every third day is going to look crazy, mundanely, but it's also time where it's very important for us to give reverence to Algol when Uranus is on Algol. Okay, it's very important. You can do it when the ascendant is on Algol, when the midheaven is on Algol. You could just turn to her, light the candle, or give reverence. And I will probably talk about it way more. Even this probably we're going to have new discoveries, unusual discourse around this, and mundanely we know that it's conjuncting the sun of the state of Israel, so that's going to be very important for the state of Israel to give reverence to Algol. It has not been particularly good at doing that without gaslighting, because the sun is in the 8th house for Israel, also for the United States. But we the people can do that. And eventually, we the people are the country. The rest is infiltration on the sovereignty of the country. This country is supposed to serve its people, not like the gaslighting of what. Don't ask what the country did for you. Okay, that's called talk, because the country is the emanating unit of analysis of we the people. It's the only way for it to work, and especially when the power is back with the people. So this is my daily talk, and again back to the 10th lunar mention, the lunar mention of benevolence that is healing and is also good for partnership, because partnerships based on benevolence have trust, and that trust is not based on betrayal but on genuine benevolence. And this is what we aspire to, and this is where we are healthy. It's important to our well-being. And we see that even the hardest medical condition is healed by, was considered psychosis, that is healed by housing first, which means that no matter if you're able to work, this is how it works in Finland. It was made up in the United States, but it's only practiced in Finland. No matter what your situation is, forever, you have this house. Whenever you recover, you're able to do something, probably you want to do something with your life, we will support you on this, and you're validated. The hardest medical condition was healed by being provided and having connection. So that's the way we accommodate for people in the world. So I'll see you in my next video.